Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today we're taking a look at, well, 3D Mark demo really. Now, this is a synthetic benchmarking tool that's been around for ages actually, and to be fair, it was one of the most popular benchmarking tools as well. There's quite a few of them out there, so it depends if you want to benchmark performance or you want to just stress test the system. You can use either 64, you can use FurMark, different options. I do know that 3D Mark is a little bit more user friendly, and there's quite a few of them out there that actually is kind of pretty much like free to use, or at least gives you a glimpse. Now, a couple things that I do want to address when it comes to synthetic benchmarks is to get a consistent idea of your GPU's or CPU performance, you need to run the test at least 3 times consecutively just to iron out any kind of cached results or anything else that might be pre-cache or cache related. So that's one thing. Second of all, do not record your benchmarks while you are doing the benchmarks, because the simple truth is you want to have all your system resources available for the benchmark, which includes your CPU threads, your RAM, your GPU tasks. So running Steam while recording in native 4K, while running benchmark in 4K, and recording at the same time on the same drive, FurMark is installed, is a pretty stupid idea. But nevertheless, the reason I'm doing this is not only, well, I actually haven't visited 3D Mark in quite some time. Second of all, as you know, playing by yourself with all these things limited, no background processes, everything optimized, is one thing. If you're going to be recording your games, if you're going to be streaming at the same time as well while you're playing the games, you will have an FPS penalty. Because, the CPU will have to do more, the GPU will have to encode, and yada 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 yada. And, whatever else you can probably imagine is probably happening at the same time as well. Now, all of this away, I think we can actually have a quick look what we're gonna get while recording with my current system, and the specs is literally on the display here. So we do have 4070 Ti rocking the latest NVIDIA driver. We have a i5-96K running absolutely stock, nothing's overclocked. So, well, yeah, I know the great overclocking people will now come for me with pitchforks and torches. We are running from, well, a 970 M2 drive, and that's pretty much all there is. And 32 gigs of DDR4. So anyhow, let's go over the options here. We're going with a native resolution of 4K. So essentially, when you start this 3D Mark from a get-go, it actually will give you an option to set everything up to automatic. Now, I don't exactly like that, because a couple times back in the day when I was running this, it would not really run the test in 4K. It would run it in full HD, and then it would try to upscale to 2K, then 4K. Let's try to cut out the middleman, go straight for the 4K performance, because that's how we play our games on this channel specifically. I'm not going to use demo audio because it gets very loud, and I do believe we're going to get some audio anyway. Everything else is as it is. Now, obviously, to unlock more features, to stress individual components and system performance in general, using multitude of benchmarks like for CPU and your SSD and your overall system performance, you need a full version. However, even the free version gives you TimeSpy, Firestrike, and Night Raid. Now, I don't think we're gonna be going for the Night Raid, because as you can see, it kinda tries to do a test with integrated GPU, and for i5-96K, if memory serves me right, that's an UHD 630, and well, the performance is not really there if you ask me. Then again, you can do some things with it. It's not that bad if you don't have a dedicated GPU. So what we're gonna be doing is start the TimeSpy first and foremost. Then we're gonna go for the Firestrike, because I remember this being quite demanding title, and we're gonna see how well it goes. So yeah, let's just go with the TimeSpy. And we just Hall of Fame top 5, 48,000. I don't think we ever gonna be close to this. This is overclocked. That's definitely overclocked for it. Anyhow, you know what? Let's run it. See what happens. See how many or how little frames we're gonna be getting now, and Yeah, I'm doing this for fun. You know, like usually people don't record benchmark runs. You do read about the performance being mentioned in certain benchmarking sites that this is your result in TimeSpy if you use it. But you know, maybe seeing is believing. I would say our current setup should get at least 12,000 points um, as a minimum, really. I am running a custom curve on MSI just to keep the GPU a little bit cool so it doesn't throttle. And yeah, let's see if we actually gonna see something nice or not nice here. You know, who knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. Maybe some of you know, but yeah, it's you know, I kind of maybe I should just get the full license eventually, but I'm not swapping GPUs that often. Just for benchmarking purposes, because as I said, recording and benchmarking at the same time is kind of a waste of time and resources, really. But hey ho, so we'll see how it all runs here. So this is the beginning of the test. We're coming here. I don't see any metrics on the screen. I wonder if that's that you can kind of enable. But yeah, the good thing about synthetic benchmarks is everything in here is actually made for you to stress out the GPU. All the reflections, all the lights, all the textures, the movement, the different angles, particle effects, all of this is supposedly measuring how fast your GPU can actually render all this in real time, supposedly. Now, I don't know if this actually is native 4K because it kind of really doesn't look like native 4K. Maybe it's just, you know, you don't get Furmark in 4K looking any different than Full HD, in all honesty. So, you know, these guys probably know what they're doing. And here is the audio segment that is quite loud when it comes to it. There's like the whole battle music, the guys running away from the monster, stuff like this. And honestly, it was so loud I decided just to turn it off. But yeah, I would say it's quite interesting. Also, for certain scenes during this benchmark, MSI will activate and will actually show the metrics as well. This is what I'm kind of curious about, because there must be a reason why certain runs of this synthetic benchmark does not include MSI hook to actually show the metrics real time. And some of you might argue that on top of everything else, polling the hardware with an MSI metrics is putting more strain and taking away your FPS, which is again pretty accurate statement. However, as I said, if you're recording and recording at the same time, I would say this is roughly the performance you're probably gonna be getting anyway. But yeah, so far I think we're kinda 60-ish because I'm not seeing any screen tearing. So, interesting. It's not a bad thing anyway. So I do believe there's like 5 segments for this particular TimeSpy run. So we should be seeing some numbers on the second and, if I'm not mistaken, the 4th run. And yeah, I did run it once just to see how it goes. It went well, it finished, it didn't crash. And I know that sometimes you can actually use these benchmarks to check if you gained any FPS or any memory clock during the overclocking stages of your GPU or CPU. Now, granted, some people will say AIDA64 and Furmark is a little bit better benchmarking tool or stress testing after an overclock. Some people say you have to run it for a minimum of 30 minutes. Some people say you have to run it for 2 hours just to make sure it's stable. But I'll leave it to the pros because nothing's overclocked on my system, so running it absolutely bare bones stock, I think it's actually a pretty decent approach for getting just the baseline of what happens if you play, record or stream at the same time. And even now, GPU usage is 99%. We're pulling 3.3 gigs of video memory, 7.2 of RAM, and we're above 60 frames, so you know, so far so good. I know that 3D Mark has gone through some serious development stages ever since it actually was first launched all those years ago. So I would say it's kind of nice, and you know, it's not too bad. Now, granted, I'm a little bit curious how well or how badly we're gonna place against others, but I think we're gonna actually be quite okay-ish, essentially. So far we're doing well. Well, I mean, to be fair, my benchmark expectations are quite low. Like everything above 60 at 4K is kind of good in my book, because you know it depends really on the games you play. If you play God of War 4K 70 frames, you're gonna be happy. If you play Warzone in 4K Ultra and you get 60 frames, you're probably not gonna be happy. So depends on the game, depends on what games you play, really, what's your system setup to begin with. But overall, I would say it's not a bad thing. So yeah. Also, not having any audio and having me talking your ear off is a little bit weird. So perhaps I could just, I don't know, shut up until all of this is done. And we'll see when the screen turns to final report. We're gonna talk about that and go for the Firestrike. Right, so what do we have? 15,000 of points. Graphics score 21, CPU at 5. Well, you know, that's what you get from 6 cores and no hyper-threading, really. Estimated game performance obviously is not available for us, so what do we see here? So our CPU clock frequency was kind of boosting a little bit because... I wouldn't actually say it's boosting, because the base... I think the i5-96, I think it goes single core to 4.7. So unless you overclock everything on all 6 cores, you're not gonna really get an accurate reading. That is fine. GPU clock frequency, an interesting dip here. So it's not exactly keeping up at 2.8 all the time. It's kind of going on. Probably I could adjust a little bit of a power limit on the card itself, because currently it's sitting on 100. Highly doubt it's gonna change much, really. And yeah, the clock frequency, memory clock frequency is still kind of having a little bit of dip here and there. It's not too bad, you know, we're a little bit above, well, below average. So then again, if nothing was running in terms of all that, I'm pretty sure we would be right below, well, somewhere around average anyway. And the best is 18, so definitely 5 GHz overclocked i5 and probably a little bit fine-tuned 4070, which is not bad. You know, it's just exactly what I would expect to have here. So let's go for the Firestrike, see how we go. Look at these scores, 78 Hall of Fame. What is this guy running? I mean, that'd be amazing if they would just tell us what he's running. But hey ho, you know what? It's fine. Let's run with the Firestrike. See how much we're gonna get here in comparison. And yeah, I think this is just a learning experience. If you're overclocking your GPU and you want to see the score change, go ahead. Also, you can always submit it, you know, so other people can see your build, and you can just share it in a forum. Maybe it will help someone else to actually overclock their system a little bit. And you won't have to deal with people like me running everything stock, so, you know, that's that. You're clearly winning there. So yeah, let's see how this goes. Back in the day, this was crashing on 970 and 980 pretty much instantly, so yeah. We'll see how it goes now. I'm gonna shut up for about half a minute or a minute maybe, and we'll just narrate what we see on the screen, because we do have MSI showing up there as well. So the one thing I noticed right now is actually that the GPU usage currently is not 99%, which is a little bit weird. But we're kind of doing well. We're still above 60 frames. I don't think that everyone who actually runs 3D Mark benchmarks is happy to see 60 frames. I think that's like the bare minimum to even see on synthetic benchmarks like this. Because on a base version or the free one, you actually don't get any of the goodies. You don't get the RTX, you don't get DLSS. You cannot really fully stress test the system on free edition. It kind of gives you an idea of how your system performs, but is not exactly as accurate as it could possibly be without you spending a little bit of extra money. Then again, if you have any, suggestions for, let's say, fully affordable, I would say, not maybe free, who knows, but benchmarking tool that kind of gives a little bit more insight, definitely let me know. I know there was one with some sort of airship and a dragon for back in the day. Unreal Engine probably it was. I'm not sure. It was quite interesting. The results would not change between Full HD and 4K for whatever reason, so I think that thing was broken as hell. But either way, Firestrike so far is looking pretty decent. But surprisingly enough, I can't even put my finger on, is this actually real 4K or is it Full HD? Because it just feels weird. It's just, I look at the things and I can't really work out graphically which level of graphical fidelity this is set on. And usually during the gameplay I'm able to see it quite clearly on my TV, but currently I just kind of look at moving pictures and I go like, well, the GPU usage is 93%, CPU is roughly 45-60-ish, certain cores. We're not overheating, we're not throttling, RAM is being used 6.9, so it's kind of a weird place in between of all things, so I don't really want to jump into conclusions, so that's one of the things, I guess. At the same time, well, we're getting at least 2 benchmark runs done in the same video, so that's good. Yeah, now we're getting more frames than 120, so yeah, let's see how this goes. Maybe you're gonna finally be above average while recording in Firestrike. Well, other guys are probably getting 500 frames, who knows. Anyway, let's wait for this to finish and we'll just go from there, really, No need to stress about it. I'm totally not stressed that my setup is below average. It's fine. It's one of those things. Anyway, yeah, let's wait for the end. I want to see what happens now. Well, the one thing for sure is this is way below 60 frames. Yeah, 44, look at this. You can clearly tell by the movement of the tentacles that they're kind of kicking up a little bit, so I think this was the part of the CPU performance test rather than GPU. And we should be getting the end results now. I truly wonder what we're gonna get. The time span was 15,000-ish something, so I could round it up for 16, puts us in a above average place, but hey ho. And in here, oh, this is an interesting scene. Look at this. Still CPU bound more than the GPU. GPU is doing nothing, literally 42%. Pff. Barely an inconvenience for the GPU. Interesting, interesting. I mean, synthetic benchmarks are weird when you look at them really closely. But they kind of give a good round view of stuff, I suppose. So, it's loading the results. And we are 28,314. Still slightly below average, but it's not too much in all honesty. So I would say probably... Oh, that was a physics score. Okay, so physics are heavily CPU reliant rather than GPU for whatever reason, weirdly. So yeah, so what do we have? We actually had some pretty decent dips here at the end. Yeah, actually quite nice dips. Clock frequency dropped because the clock was not in use. CPU kind of peaked a little bit here. Pretty consistent, to be fair. It's not that bad. Probably, you know, a little bit of overclocking wouldn't hurt, but hey ho. I wonder, so combined test 49, physics test 42. Graphically we're actually absolutely fine here. So it's not that terrible. So obviously, again, you know, for general 4K gaming, probably not exactly everything on Ultra as I do on my channel. This setup could be fine, but I would say, you know, a CPU upgrade or CPU overclock would be beneficial if you're bored or you actually want the Silicon Lottery and you can actually push it past. I would say even 4.8 on all cores would definitely give you a bit more performance boost than just having a single core on a turbo clock, because i5 96K is weird. By default it only gonna turbo one core. I think it was 4.7 or 4.6, one of those, and the rest of the cores are just on a base really, so that's why the overclock actually improves the performance of an i5, and supposedly is very close in between 97K and 99K. But yeah, I don't know, no recommendations. I would rather want to actually perhaps quickly borrow someone's 99 KF or K series dropped on a board. I am running the latest BIOS and just see if that makes any difference really with the same setup, the same GPU and everything, because I think the CPU is a little bit sluggish on these tests. But then again, my suggestion, don't record at the same time. Free up as much things you can. Don't do MSI afterburner hardware polling that's trying to get the results and responses from the components to show the metrics, because all of that is slowing your system down. Maybe just enough, because to be fair, 314 and 652, 300-ish point difference. I can clearly see how that is all those things combined. We're probably gonna be about average everywhere, and the best is 32, so you know, it's fine. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something new or informative, or at least had a good laugh. That we are below average here. Yay! Anyhow, hope you have a good one. I'll see you on the flip side. Over and out.